Hi, I'm Lauren Sapala. I'm the author of the INFJ Writer, and I'm teaching a new live class this August called You Are a Writer, Getting Past the Fear and Finally Moving Forward. This is the third video in a little mini-series I'm doing on procrastination and perfectionism, which are two of the really big issues we're going to be tackling in this class, because so many INFJ and INFP writers suffer from both of them, and they can be paralyzing and absolutely crippling, and most INFJ and INFP writers think they are totally alone in it. I want to say thank you guys so much, and wow, I got a huge response on the last video in this series, why INFJ and INFP writers feel so much fear when they actually sit down to write. So many of you reached out, sent me emails, sent me messages, told me your personal stories and said, you know, I've been struggling with this for years. I thought I was the only one. I thought something was wrong with me. I never ever connected that it could be something going on with my personality type and with past trauma and baggage and old history that I'm still carrying around with me. So thank you so much, all of you who reached out. It really means so much, and it also lets me know I'm on the right path with this kind of stuff. This class overall, the You Are a Writer class in August, the goal of it is to take you from those feelings that so many of you expressed to me when you reached out, of feeling full of shame, feeling like you dread writing, feeling like you have this secret that you're a failed writer, not even being able to talk about writing or tell people you're a writer because you're so ashamed and you feel like you have this unfulfilled dream that's sort of festering inside of you. Taking you from that place to this new place where the joy in writing comes back. Writing feels like it's something that nourishes you. It's something that energizes you. It's something that you're actually proud of. Maybe you even finish a piece, or you finish your book, or you start your project. Whatever it is that you want to do, that you know in your heart you're here to do with your writing work, you start getting that accomplished. That's where the class is going to take people, from that lonely, dark place to this new place that's totally like new perspective and kind of weird, and it might feel disorienting at first, but in the long run it's going to be so much better, and it's going to feel like relief and freedom. So in this video, I want to wrap up the mini-series by going into one of the concepts I'm going to be talking about in the class, which is limiting beliefs and myths about starting and finishing projects, and how one is supposed to be a writer and what that's supposed to look like. So this is a huge limiting belief that I see in just about every INFJ and INFP writer I talk to, whether that's a client or someone who just emails me or someone I'm having an exchange with on social media who's a little bit unsure about their work. This myth is, I have to write and or create something with marketable value in order for it to be worthwhile. Now, on the surface, this seems really reasonable. People are like, well, I don't want to waste my time. I'm already busy. I have a career. I have kids. You know, I can only carve out a certain amount of time for my writing work. So it makes sense for me to sort of look at my idea for my novel, or look at my idea for my self-help book, or even just look at my writing practice as a whole and say, what's going to come of this? Is this going to bring in income? Are other people going to be interested in this? So that does seem to make sense on the surface. However, there's an ugly truth that's much deeper down that we really need to look at. The thing we need to look at is that belief was instilled in us in childhood, from our parents, you know, from our surrounding family. And there's a few different reasons that I want to go into why this is so damaging for INFJ and INFP writers. First of all, thinking that you need to figure out if your work is going to have any marketable value before you even begin it, or to have that as a reason for doing it, it's just plain wrong, because you can't possibly know that ahead of time. I have written so many things that brought a huge response from my audience. My most successful book, The INFJ Writer, I had no idea what was going to be. You know, when I was writing it, I didn't have a plan for it. I didn't think it would have any marketable value at all. And that actually turned out to be my most successful book. I've had plenty of other ideas that I thought maybe would have marketable value and didn't work out. So the point is, you're not going to know. You're just not going to know until you put your stuff out there and you test it with an audience response. So if there's no way to know, there's no reason for you to waste energy on thinking that you can know that ahead of time. Number two, it's false. Why is it false? Because the entire point of the creative process is self-expression for you and connection with others. Creativity and self-expression are very primal human needs. And when you engage with your writing, when you fully enter the creative process, that's what you're doing. You're getting those needs met. You are fulfilling yourself on a soul level. It has nothing to do with money. You might have an idea for something that would sell like hotcakes, and you're like, I know if I just wrote this book, everybody in the world would read it and I would be a millionaire. Well, that's great, but if you're not connected with that material in the book, if you don't want to be writing it, if it's not genuinely a heart connection for you, then you're going to be right back in that place where you don't really like what you're writing. You don't really feel like it's fulfilling you. And at the bottom of it, you're ashamed of yourself because you're only really doing it for money. So the money piece and the self-expression piece, they don't need to go together. Sometimes they do go together, but they don't need to go together. Okay, so that's all well and good, but what I really want to get to is number three, why that belief is actually dangerous for INFJ and INFP writers. And this is the missing piece that so many intuitive writers don't see, and that I don't think is even talked about anywhere else. I have just started putting the pieces together in the last couple of years myself. Most INFJ and INFP writers who have really severe problems with the creative process with writing tend to have a narcissistic parent, or they come from a narcissistic family dynamic. Now, what that means, if you have a narcissistic parent, it's very obvious. Your mom or dad was a narcissist. If you come from a narcissistic family dynamic, maybe it wasn't your mom or dad, but there was someone in the family who was a narcissist, and it was kind of a trickle-down effect. That's actually what happened in my family. My grandmother was the narcissist, trickled down into my dad and my uncle, that trickled down to me, and it did deeply affect me, and it did affect my writing. People who have grown up in a narcissistic family dynamic, or people who have grown up where there was alcohol abuse in the home or substance abuse in the home, something going on like that, some sort of abuse going on in the home, we were taught that it's not about how it feels, it's all about how it looks. So it's all about how the neighbors see us. It's all about how the public sees us. It's all about how the outside people view us. And we need to be seen as perfect. We need to be seen as good. We know what we're doing. We're competent. We meet a certain standard. And on the inside, of course, everything's crumbling. You know, when there's abuse in the home or a narcissistic parent, the child feels horrible all the time. There's this internalized sense of shame. There's this pain and misery. Why can I never be good enough? You know, why is my family so crazy making? Why is it that I don't know what to expect from one day to the next? Especially, again, if there's alcohol abuse. So a lot of INFJ and INFP writers have this dynamic going on with their writing, where they were trained from a young age. It's not about how you feel. That's not important. It's about how it looks. We bring this to the creative process. We bring this with us every time we sit down to write, and we say, it's not about how I feel. It's about how it looks. So I have to produce a perfect work. And we override how we feel. Now, that's one of the things we're going to be working with in this class, and that's pretty big. We're going to be shifting from it's not about how you feel, it's about how it looks, to it's all about how you feel. That's all that matters, and it doesn't matter at all how it looks. So if you sit down to write or paint or create from your heart and it feels lovely, it just feels like this is my time, I love this, I am digging this, like the hour flew past, I don't even know what happened. That's how it feels. That's when you're concentrating on how it feels. Who cares how it looks? It doesn't matter if at the end you end up with a bunch of scribbles or a poem that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter how it looks. It matters how it feels. Once you start to make that shift, your entire life, not just your creative life, your entire life will change. And that's what we're going to be doing in this class. Last thing I will say, I've gotten a lot of questions from people who say, I have anxiety. I even have an anxiety disorder. I'm an introvert. I don't know how comfortable I'll be interacting. The class is designed so that you can have as little or as much interaction as you'd like. There's a Facebook group, you can participate in it. You don't have to participate in it. The classes are over Zoom. You can have your camera on. You don't have to have your camera on either. I give journaling exercises. You can send me your answers. You don't have to send me your answers. It's whatever feels comfortable to you. And last, I will say it's also for writers of all levels. So if you've never written before, cool. If you haven't written in 15 years, cool. If you're writing a little bit, but you would die before you would show anybody, cool. You will fit in. We're not sharing our work unless you want to. But as a rule of thumb, this is a very private, personal, designed especially for very, very highly sensitive, anxious introverts who feel so weird and so many conflicting feelings about writing. And we're going to be shifting those feelings. So if for some reason I haven't answered one of the questions that you guys have sent my way, please email me, writecitysf@gmail.com. There's a contact form on my website. Leave a comment below. Get a hold of me. Let's get the questions answered. I'm opening up registration this Wednesday. It will be open for 5 days, and after that, it's closed. And I do a hard cutoff. So, and I've had people who will email me like the day after the registration closes, and they're like, oh my God, like now I know I really wanted to be in the class. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, it's too late, because I have to keep it fair. So if you want to get in the class, use the 5 days, get in the class, because then the window's closed and it's going to be done and you won't be able to get into the class after that time. And I will say all the classes are going to be recorded. So you could, register for the class, not attend any of the classes, do the recordings later at a later date on your own time, but at least you'll have them. So that's something to consider too. You don't have to be in there in person live to attend the classes to make this work for you. So again, email me if you have questions. Thank you so much, you guys, for the big response. It means so much to me, and I feel such a heart connection with each and every one of you that reaches out. I really appreciate all of you. We will talk soon, and hopefully I'll see a lot of you on Wednesday when I open up the class.